Well, the Canadian flag, our maple leaf, turns 60 this Saturday, and Flag Day doesn't typically get the kind of attention that that day does. But amid U.S. tariff threats and taunts for Canada to become the 51st state, all of Canada's living former prime ministers have issued a joint statement. They are calling on Canadians to, quote, show the flag as never before, end quote. And joining us now is BC's own former Prime Minister, Kim Campbell, has been good enough to join us this morning. Good morning to you, Ms. Campbell.
Yes, you heard that right. Former Prime Minister Kim Campbell of Canada. Canada has had a female prime minister for many years back. She didn't sit very long, but yes, we already reached that milestone.
Good morning.
How did this letter come about?
Well, it was Jean Chrétien's initiative. Of course, he was in government when the new flag was adopted 60 years ago, and I'm sure that Flag Day has always been important to him for that reason. I think he created Flag Day later when he became Prime Minister. So, he, as you may know, he's written some op-eds, and he's been very concerned about things that have been said south of the border, both with respect to Canada's future, but also with respect to tariffs. So I think he thought that this was a good opportunity for us to rally people around the flag. I mean, it's not that we think that this is going to be a magic solution to problems, but there's two reasons why I think it's important. Canadians are boycotting American goods, and they are expressing their concerns with what's happening in the United States, and it's getting attention there. I think that's important. So I think if Canada has a really exuberant and enthusiastic celebration of our Flag Day, celebrating the 60th anniversary, that will be an important signal both to the United States, but the rest of the world, how devoted we are to our country and how proud we are of our flag and the history that it represents. But the other thing is, I think a lot of people feel a little bit helpless. You know, we're not really sure what to do. And by celebrating Flag Day, by finding ways of waving the flag and displaying the flag and talking about it, I think it can perhaps create a sense of solidarity and open some conversations among neighbors and give a little bit of kind of emotional release and comfort to people who are feeling frustrated about the current situation.
Do we generally think of Canada, though, as a flag-waving nation?
Well, that's interesting because, of course, we're not. We've always been a little bit suspicious of people who are waving and being superly jingoistic.
Okay.
And I think that's why, in a way, that what we would do would be even more significant because it's not our natural thing to do, but we do have a reason to celebrate on Saturday that it is the 60th anniversary of a new flag. And if we go back and think about what it took us to create that flag, there was a lot of controversy. It was very difficult. And that is substituted for the flag that had been carried by our forces in two world wars, etc. But I think Canadians have come to love the flag and to adopt it. It's very identifiable. So just to stop and say, this is the symbol that around the world speaks of our country, and we're proud of our country. And we're a great democracy. We're one of the oldest democracies in the world. And this is an opportunity to stop and savor that and celebrate the symbol of all that we've created together. And I think what makes us such a great democracy is that we're proud of our history, but we're always trying to make things better. We're not afraid to look at our faults. We're not afraid to see how we could live better as a country, how we could do things better. It's not a jingoistic response. It's a really kind of democratic, affectionate response to our country and the symbol that represents it.
Democratic.
When former Prime Minister Stephen Harper launched his new history book called Flags of Canada, he reportedly said, "I would be prepared to impoverish the country and not be annexed if that was the option we're facing." How many Canadians do you think agree with that?
Well, I don't know. It's hard to tell because I think it's very hard to make those comments unless there's an actual threat that's concrete. In the past, Canadians have been hugely brave, courageous, and generous in rising to threats to our country and to world peace. And I think nobody should ever underestimate us. Nobody should think that because Canadians are very polite, that we are not capable of enormous resolve and toughness. We are, but we just don't throw it away on simple rhetoric. But the flag is an opportunity to remind ourselves of all of those times that we have stood up to be counted. And even now, Canadian firefighters and water bombers are down in California. We've been working. We are the best friends, the best neighbors a country could ever have, because when the chips are down, we are there. I think of that wonderful play, Come From Away, which talked
Yes.
about miraculous things that a tiny little community in Gander, Newfoundland did after 9/11. We are tough, brave, resourceful, and good friends. And don't rile us, because you'll find that other side of our nature, aside from our incredible courtesy and kindness. So our flag reminds us of all the things that we've been, and we should be proud of that. I'm proud to be a Canadian. I'm proud of all the things that we've done.
But given all of that, I mean, what do you make of this continued repeated rhetoric from the President of the United States and even his underlings
Listen
now?
to him.
James
He just
Blair
wants to
tweeted
agitate
out,
the
or
whole
whatever they
interview.
call it on X, pleasant meeting with the premiers. To be clear, we never agreed that Canada would not be the 51st state. We only agreed to share Premier Eby's comments. I mean, where is this coming from, and what do
this
we
is the
do
kind
about
of
it?
guy.
You have to consider the source. It is so
He
stupid.
would
And what
spread
I
the
find
lies,
interesting
this
is
guy.
that
He
Donald
would
Trump, who says he's such a
push
good
the
deal maker,
liberal
thinks that
agenda.
a country that's larger than his country would agree to join the United States as a single state. Get serious. If Canadians ever
Well, the fact that
decided
you
at all
is
that they
serious
would like to become
is
part of the
is
United
what's
States, well, we'd be
hilarious.
13 more states,
That
10
you're
provinces
wasting
and
all
3
this time
territories, and that'd be
talking about
26
it.
more
It's
senators.
nothing.
That might be a little bit more Canada than some Americans would want to have.
And this is the
governing
best
their
wake-up
country.
call
Be
Canada's
careful what you
ever
ask
had.
for,
Get
because
that
you might find
liberal
that it doesn't serve the purpose
government
that you think is going to be
shit or
served.
get off
But we
the
are the best,
pot.
and you don't need to play those silly games and talk about annexation, because
My
Canada
video.
gives its best as a neighbor. We are a great trading partner. We sell our resources at very competitive prices to the Americans, so we can have access to their market. It's a good deal, and if people don't like the deal we've got, let's negotiate another one. But we live up to the deal that we signed. So it's mind-boggling and it's stupid. But I think Canadians, as I say, we're slow to anger, but there are some things that really annoy us. And I think on Saturday, celebrating our flag gives us an opportunity to make clear to ourselves and the rest of the world that we're not for sale. We
Yeah,
are
it
a
was
wonderful
only a
country,
few years
and
ago they
other
were
American
labeling
presidents have commented
freedom
that
fighters,
the best thing
freedom
that ever happened to
convoy,
America
everybody
was
that
having
flew a
Canada
flag
north
as
of
the
border,
enemy.
and
So
that if anything,
how
America
quickly
needs more
they
Canada,
changed
not
their
less.
minds.
So having a peaceful, prosperous democracy along your long northern border, that's the best news that any country could have. So enjoy it, United States, and Canada, don't be shy about who we are.